Hi, I'm Allie. Join me as I create the components to make this chrysanthemum necklace. Remember, if you do need any materials, go ahead and look at the links below the video in the description. Also, if you have the November Best Bead Box, all the materials are right there for you to go ahead and create this design. So to get started with our chrysanthemum components here, we are going to string 6 of our RounDuos, and these are in the Lila Gold color, and I'm stringing them all through one of their holes. I have 0.005 and a size 12 needle, working with the thread and the needle, and I have a stop bead on my project. Working with about 3.5 to 4 feet of thread. Through that same hole, I'm going to string through beads 1 and 2, coming out before bead number 3. We're going to pull this into a circle while doing so. And now what we're going to do is step up. To step up, it means that I'm going to get ready to do the next step. And I'm stepping up from the interior hole to what is now the exterior hole. So as you're looking at your RounDuos all in a line, the center hole is going to have the thread through it already. The exterior hole that we're catching onto in this second step is going to be on the exterior. We're going to pick up 4 of our green Toho 11-Os and sew through the second hole of the next RounDuo. Pull that stop bead kind of out of the way. Once again, 4 beads go on, whole way around through those 6 RounDuo beads. 4 beads go on. These 4 beads are going to create the 6 little leaves that are going to be on each of the pieces between our RounDuos. So again, 3 done, 3 more to go, adding the leaf, sewing through the empty hole of the next RounDuo in line. As we come back through then and we get ready to go to the start, we're going to step up to the top of the leaf by sewing through the last RounDuo there and then stepping up through the first 2 seed beads. So we're going to think of it as the right side and the left side. We're stepping up through the right side, which is going to be the first 2 seed beads. We're going to add 3 more seed beads. And we're going to sew down through the first bead on the left-hand side. So bead number 3, and then bring our thread and needle out. That's going to create that nice little point or that little peak. From here, I'm going to switch over to bronze 11-Os in the Toho brand. Add 3 of those that are going to sit right above that RounDuo bead. Then take your needle and thread and go through bead number 2 on the right-hand side of the next green seed bead group. Coming out of that second bead and just the second bead, add 3 more green beads and come down bead number 3 on the left-hand side. Those of you that know herringbone, this is going to give the illusion that we are doing a herringbone stitch. 3 beads go on. We're going to go up through bead number 1. Again, add 3 more beads on in the green color and down through bead number 3, which is the first bead on the left side. So you can see everything that we're doing, always we're going to do in sets of 6. It's going to be between each one of our RounDuo beads. Spinning around here, adding in my 3 beads, whole way around the process. When you're doing it, you want to make sure as you're working that your thread does not get twisted or tangled and that there's not extra thread showing anywhere in your project. Finishing up here, 3 beads go on. Go down through the other side. 3 beads go on, so you're always doing 3. 3 bronze, then up bead number 2 on that grouping of 4 original. 3 more greens for the point of my leaf, and down through bead number 1 on the left-hand side. As I come around and finish this up here, I'm going to make sure that I'm going through bead number 2 on that original rather than stepping up through those 3 beads right away. And that creates the first little go-round component. All right, now that we've gone around and added in all of our 3 bronze as well as our little point of our leaves, We are going to go through bead number 1, skip over bead number 2 of our leaf, and go through bead number 3 in that grouping of 3 beads that we just added. What that's going to do with a nice tight pull is make that into even more of a point. Add a 15-0 seed bead, and I'm doing the peony lined crystal. So through the 3 bronze 11-0s, add another 15 peony up through bead number 1 on that point of the 3 groups of green beads that you added, and then skip over bead number 2 and sew down through bead number 3. When you skip over bead number 2, you want to make sure the thread doesn't hang out at the top there, that it pulls down so you can barely see it. Add a 15, sew through the 3 bronze. You can see I'm just circling the whole way around, adding a 15, sewing up through bead number 1 in that group of 3 that we just added, down through bead number 2, making sure once again that that thread pops down right between beads 1 and 3. The reason we're doing that and not sewing through bead 2 is because that's going to exaggerate the point on the leaf. If we would go through 3, it's going to keep a little bit more like this, where it's a little bit more boxy. By skipping that second bead and just coming up number 1 and down number 3, we get more of that nice leaf point. So I'm going to continue around here, adding in my 15, sewing through my 3 bronze, and back up. This is also a really fun little snowflake if you want to do it in crystal. And make sure to comment below the video if you do any change-ups and you make it a different size. So say you use 6 seed beads, 5 RounDuo beads, what is your difference? Or if you use a RounDuo mini, what is the seed bead difference? It's always nice to help Potomac beaders like you out by creating those comments below the videos. As I come back around now to finish up the placement of my 15-0s and the sharpness there of my leaves, I'm going to go through that bronze bead, go through after adding the 15, up through bead number 1, again skip over the top bead, down through bead number 3. That's going to finish up the exterior of our design. Now what we're going to do is move to the interior, creating these nice lighter pink levels in our piece, as well as then adding in the pearl and those seed beads around. So now we need to get back to the interior of the RounDuo. So what I'm going to do, coming out of that 3rd bead there at the top, is I'm going to sew down through beads 3 and 4 from those original 4 groups, so basically straight down that leaf line, and then into the top hole of the RounDuo that's right next to it, and then step down into the bottom hole of that same RounDuo bead. It's going to pop a tiny bit of thread on the exterior there. You won't see it at all. From here, you're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of that peony color of the 15s. Grab onto the middle bronze bead that sits above the RounDuo. So through that bead from the right toward the left, grab 5 more 15-0s and sew down through that same first hole of that same RounDuo bead. What that's going to do is circle those seed beads so they sit right above that RounDuo bead. From here, we're going to do the same thing, sewing through the first hole of the next RounDuo bead. As we come out of that, go ahead and add your 5 seed beads. Sew into the middle 11-0 bronze seed bead above it, from the right towards the left. Add 4 seed beads. And then you're going to catch on to that final seed bead on the side before it. So I'm catching on to that bead number 5 right there. So 4 more seed beads get added. I share the 5th bead, and then I sew back through that first hole of that round duo bead. I'm going to do that one more time for you, and we're going to do it to every single round duo. Sew through the next round duo bead. Go ahead and add 5 on the first side. Grab the 11-0 seed bead that sits right above the middle of the round duo. So that middle bronze bead. Grab 4 more 15s. Go over to the last row of 15s and grab the first bead there. And that makes our 5th bead. So we're always sharing that 5th bead. Sew through that first hole of the round duo. And that finishes that one off. Go over to the next bead and do the same thing. I'm going to do the next 2, and then I'm going to show you that we only need to add 4 beads on both sides of the last round duo bead. When you get back to this starter side, you're going to sew through the next round duo, the last one that's not decorated basically, and you need to sew up through the first bead of the 15 on that row that sits next to it. Add 4 more 15s, and then once again catch on to that 11 that sits in the middle at the top. And then same process here, 4 more beads, catch on to the 5th or the final 15-0 next to it, and to lock it all in place, sew through the bottom hole of that round duo that you just decorated. You'll notice I'm also pulling that stop bead toward the back. And that pulls that nice and tight. You can also, if you want to keep this open, leave it open. What I'm going to do now is grab my pearl. So I'm using a 6mm Potomac pearl, and this is the olive color. And I'm stringing my pearl onto my piece. The pearl's going to sit in the middle of my component here. And as it sits in the middle, to get it to center, I'm coming out of that round duo right there on the right-hand side. I'm going to draw a line, go to the round duo that sits opposite, sew through that same right side over toward the left. That's going to pull that pearl towards the center. Take your needle and thread back through the pearl. So you'll see a little bit of thread exposed there, almost in a Y shape. Doesn't matter because we're going to decorate it with seed beads. Back to the starter round duo, go in from the left side now and sew toward the right. And then your thread is back at the starting point. That's how you're going to add the pearl and make sure that it sits right in the middle. Once again, nice design. If you want to stop here, you can. If you want to proceed and add some of the bronze seed beads around, you're going to sew back through the pearl another time, and we're going to pick up 7 beads per side. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of our bronze, and go back through our pearl. I'm coming out of the bottom of the pearl, I'm sewing into the top of the pearl. Push those 7 seed beads off to the right. Once again, 7. Thread's coming out the bottom. Gonna sew into the top of the pearl and add those 7 seed beads on the opposite side. Now you can see that they're kind of popping up, and you can really tell which is on the right and the left. We want it to be a cohesive unit of 14 beads. So I'm going to sew through all of these bronze seed beads right around the top. When I get from the end of the 7th bead over to the next side, you're sewing right across. And that's going to pull these all, you can see I'm circling it around and pulling them all close together. Same thing when I get to the bottom, make sure that I'm connecting my right and my left sides, giving a nice tight pull on the thread as I go in and around one more time. As I circle around this last time, I'm going to come out bead number 4 on the left-hand side of my unit. I'm going to use this bead here as my method to tuck my thread along the side and pull those seed beads down. Go down to the round duo bead that sits right below it and sew through it. I'm going from the left to the right, pulling that thread down toward the round duo. And that just pulls that thread and pins it down a little bit. From here, I'm almost to the point where my 2 thread ends meet. I'm going to go to the back, sew through the first hole of the round duo next to it. I just kind of wiggle my needle wherever it comes through is fine. Since it came through the front, I'm going to make sure it comes out of any beads that it sewed through, just that one little 15. Pop that needle and thread to the back of the design. Grab that stop bead, pull that off of the piece. If you have trouble, honestly, with this one, you can just tie it right on. And once you pull that up and off the piece, you're just going to take the 2 thread ends and you are going to tie the ends together. Right over left, left over right. And I'm going to make a total of 5 components. These components really can be anything. They're a really fun pair of stud earrings if you want to glue a post on. They're a fun bracelet to line up some of the beads and sew right through and connect them. They're also a fun little single pendant as you're working on it. We're going to group again 5 together, and I'm going to show you my style of how I'm attaching them to a chain-like setting along the top with them hanging down. When you're finished with your component, there are so many options of how to use them. As nice stud earrings along the back, you can string them from corner to corner, just taking your thread around the outer edge, adding in some pearls, or like I'm going to show you, just a nice little vine section that we can do to add all of these components together. I've made 5, and I'm going to use the infinite clasp here with the crystal amber topper cab and string it in a nice long line. So to string my components, I have on a stop bead and then a series of 6 of my 11 seed beads followed by 15 pearl 15, and I've repeated that a total of 7 times here. After that 7th time, I have on 4 of my bronze beads followed by 1 of my 15-0s and then 1 of my round duos. Putting on one 11 seed bead in the green color, I'm going to pick up my first component and sew from the left of that top green bead to the right, add 1 more green bead, and then sew up through the second hole of the round duo. That's going to create a little branch that that my component is going to sit on. From here, 1 more 15, followed by 1, 2, 3, and 4 of my bronze, followed by 1 more 15, and again 1 pearl. From here then, I'm starting that same thing over. So 4 beads, 1 15. The 15s are always going to be on the sides of the pearls, followed by 4 beads, followed by 1 15, down through one of the round duos, 1 green bead gets added, through the next component, 1 more green bead after that, back up through that second hole, so the round duo is sitting with the holes lateral, and then go in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, bead on, and then once again a pearl. So obviously this is just a suggestion for how to hang down your flower components on your piece. I'm going to continue the whole way, adding in my last 3 components with that same round duo drop. Once you're done stringing, it's time to add the clasps. So I'm coming out of the last 15-0 seed bead here, and I'm stringing through the clasp. To reinforce, I'm going to go into that same 15-0 from the opposite side, pull nice and tight against the clasp, go around the clasp another time, back through the 15-0 again, 1 more go round, back through that 15-0, circling around, and then down through the piece. I'm going to run a whole nother line of thread through the piece to reinforce it, to get over to do the other side. It's important when you're doing this final easy step that you do not miss any beads, because then it makes your necklace hang a little off, and that would be sad when you work so hard to finish it up. So I just make sure kind of after I string through all of my design, looking back before I get too far and making sure that all of my beads are in line as I reinforce along the piece here. As you're stringing back along the piece, when you get to the round duo section, you can see that it goes down. So you can reinforce going down through, or if you want to, just add a little pop of that burgundy bronze color by adding 3 beads coming out the 15, right there where you are, skipping over the round duo completely, and then sewing back in and continuing with the stitch. It's just a design element that you can switch up and add to it if you want to add that little pop of beads to the top. Last thing to do then after you finish up is to remove that stop bead, tie the knots together, take some permalac, coat it over the cab, and then take some glue, some Loctite, some E6000, glue your cab in. There's lots of different color options as well with this infinite cab, because there's infinite possibilities to work with this clasp. Thanks so much for watching, Potomac Beaders. Remember, if you haven't gotten the Best Bead Box yet and you want to check it out, look at the links below the video in the description. If you're on a mobile, little down arrow caret on the right-hand side will get you there. Also, remember you can comment with any sort of changes and post pictures of your design in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. You can change it up to a ring, a brooch, a pair of earrings, a bracelet, really endless possibilities with this component. As always, thanks so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.